This is Long Haul Larry, running in Big Blue, and we are getting pulled into a scale again. Not sure what the speed limit is here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Give me my direction here, there, people. I don't know what it is, but this is the second time I've been pulled into this scale. My little pre-pass thing has pulled me into this scale, and then it bypasses me when I go on a scale. I know how the scales work. I know how all that stuff goes on. It's just that scale. I go through tons of scales all day long. And the repass green, green, green all the time. But then I come into that one, beep, red, beep, red. I don't get it. We are running out of hours. You can see there we're at mile marker 149. We're on the northbound at 81. And I found a parking spot here one other time. So I'm gonna give it a try again. There is a pilot here. But I see plenty of parking back there. So if I can't get there, I know where I'm gonna go. There is a pilot over here, but there's no way you're gonna find a spot in that pilot. That there is a Lost Cows. But there's a little truck stop over here, and I found a parking spot here the last time. So we're going to give it a whirl. If you guys remember, this is where I got cut off by that red pickup truck, and that white truck drove up halfway on the curb. Get around me. Somebody else just pulled in there. Parking spot there. Turn off my Jake. Yeah. It's the same exact parking spot I had the last time I was here. I think somebody wrote my name on it. Reserved for Long Haul Larry. Doo-doo-doo. A little tricky getting it in here, because there's parking all around here, cars and all that stuff, but it was a decent spot. we go. So, wasn't that a good backing in job? Whew. I need cameras out there, but I'm telling you, wasn't it good? Hold your applause till later. I gotta shut this truck off. Kick off duty. There we go. Turn on the APU. All right. Didn't record a lot tonight. Just kind of drove and had some conversations with a couple people on phone and stuff, talk about different things, and just kind of did some thinking. Just did a kind of a lonely night of thinking, I guess. Need those once in a while. But I got heartburn a little bit. Too much Mexican food, I think. This Circle K is open. I'll go in there and get a Roll-Aid or something. You guys see how I just got pulled into that scale and the red thing, and I know how they work. That randomly does this every so often and stuff. I get all that. It's just that one scale that does it to me. That's weird, because it's supposed to do it like on that pre-pass thing every so often. It's supposed to pull you in, and then they make the decision in there if they should scale it. It's just that one place, and I've been by there before, and it lets me go. Don't know what it is. But the last time I made a video about that, oh, pre-pass buddy let me down, got pulled in the scale. I had comments from some people. They're like, if you're compliant and if your equipment is in top notch, you shouldn't be afraid to be pulled into a scale. Alright. I haven't recorded too much tonight, so here's a story for you. It's been a long time since I've been pulled into a scale. The reason why is because I avoid scales. I avoid scales not because of the reason that I am not DOT legal with my logbook or with the equipment. Let me explain this to you. If you go in and you pull into, let's say you take your car into a shop, okay? And the shop charges you $49 to do an inspection of your car. And you have your car inspected. And the mechanic goes out there and looks over your car. You're good to go. Not a single thing wrong. Couldn't even find a bolt loose. Couldn't find nothing loose. Everything is perfect. See ya. And he did that all day long and never found anything wrong with the car. The owner of that garage would be like, hey buddy, I could take every one of those cars and I could find something wrong with them. You're not doing your job right. That is the same way with a scale house. You could take a brand new truck rolled just off the showroom, brand new trailer just off the showroom, had a driver that's been driving for 2 days and hasn't driven over 4 hours in each day. They're going to pull them in the scale. They're going to find something wrong. It happens. A scale guy is not going to go out there and inspect the truck and say, you're perfect, you're good to go. You have nothing wrong with you. They are there to inspect you, to make money off of the fines and everything else. That's how it works. I will tell you about a story. And not all scale guys are the same, okay? There's some that are really cool and everything else, and there's some of them that are just whoa. That's all I gotta say. I'll tell you I'll tell you 2 quick stories. One a little quicker. I got pulled over, and I think it was Connecticut once. Got pulled over in Connecticut. There was a scale. I always try to avoid the scale houses when I was independent and all this other stuff. But this one here, I was running with Well. I was leased on with Well. Major highway scales out there. I was trying to run a back road to get over to where I needed to go. Didn't feel like going by the scales. This way it was actually shorter. It was legal. Everything was fine. My logbooks were fine. Everything was fine. I'm running down the road. State trooper coming the other way. I saw him slam on his brakes, pull off on the shoulder, start to do a turnaround. I don't know what the deal was. Whatever. I knew right away he was coming after me. Saw it as soon as he turned around, saw his lights get on, so I started backing down, started moving over. Really wasn't a lot of ditch, shoulder to pull into. Did the best I could. He pulled up behind me. Young kid. Come up to my passenger side window. Huge attitude. Said, how can I help you? I need your logbooks. We're going to do a level 1 inspection, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, really? Whatever. So I gave him my logbooks. I gave him all my bills, gave him all my stuff, registration, all that stuff. And he goes, yeah, and then any receipts. You're not required to give anybody receipts. What they do is if you stop and buy a Twinkie, on the bottom of that receipt, there is a timestamp. And they consider that to be a document, a legal document, that receipt. And it timestamps when you were at someplace. And then they run that against your logbook. You're not required to give them to them. When you are sitting in your seat, you are required to hand them anything that is within your reach. But they cannot get you up and say, oh, I want to dig through this cabinet or that cabinet and everything else. Now, there is instances, yes, they can search your truck. They can look through all that stuff. But this case has to be within your reach. I was leased on with WL. I said, I don't have any receipts. And he goes, really? You don't have any receipts? I says, no. I said, I just sent all my paperwork into the company, and I says, I don't have any. What I always do is this. Is I put on my bills in envelopes. Each trip has the bills. They go into here with the receipts from that trip. Okay? Any receipt that I do not need, any personal receipt that I want to keep for tax purposes, I have an envelope over there, and I keep those up in there for my personal. Otherwise than that, I do not keep any receipts out. Okay? Nowadays, it really doesn't matter because it's electronic logbooks. So this is electronic data where you are. But I'm just kind of old school. I'm kind of from the paper logbook stuff. So I just got to do that. He was giving me a hard time. No, I don't have him. He looked up on my dash, and by my defrost vent, there was a little crinkled up piece of paper. He goes, what's that? I leaned up, I looked, I said, I don't know. And I leaned up there and I grabbed it. I opened it up. It was a receipt for Hostess Ding Dongs and a Mountain Dew. I said it's a receipt for a soda. I said it has nothing to do with trucking. And I crinkled up and I threw it in my door. There's a little cubby thing down my door, and I threw it down there. He goes, give that to me. And I said, it has nothing to do with trucking. It's not fuel. It's not anything. And he goes, I'll be the one to say what it's if it has to do with trucking. Like whatever. So I dug it out, gave it to him. He went back to his truck, his car. Sat back there for a while, sitting there. All of a sudden he comes up. He goes, well, I got bad news for you. I said, what's the bad news? He goes, 7 days ago, you have in your logbook right here that you were in New London, Wisconsin at 1:30. And he goes, and getting loaded. And he goes, this receipt that you handed me has a timestamp on the bottom of 2:40. I was like, dude, I don't know. I don't know if that timestamp is right. If that's what I wrote down my logbook, that's what time I was there. I don't know if their computers are off. They're not off. They have to be on because if there's a robbery or something like that, they have to be, and all this other stuff. I said, dude, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I says, that's within my logbook. That's when I was there. And he goes, well, here's your options. He goes, you're shut down, $250 fine. And he goes, you can have the option. He goes, I'll be a nice guy about it, and I'll follow you to a truck stop up here by the highway, and you can shut down there for 10 hours, or otherwise I'll just call a tow truck and have you towed. It was like little Barney Fife on steroids. It was unbelievable. I was just like, whatever. I says, I guess I'll take take you, following you up there. And he got I'm being a nice guy, he goes. And I was just like, dude, whatever. So I went out there, and then of course the truck stop he took me to, I had to pay for parking too. That's a whole nother story. Paying for parking. So they're gonna find something. And I'll tell you what, like 2 weeks later, because I was something I used to do normally back then, it was just pickup. Like 2 weeks later, I was at that place. I went in there and I bought a soda or whatever, and it printed me out the receipt, and I looked at the receipt. It was off by an hour. They had a time zone thing, or the season, and they never changed the time. I asked the manager and got them out there, and I explained to him what happened, and I showed him my receipt, and he rang up a piece of candy or whatever, and it came through his thing or whatever, and looked at it, and he's like, yeah, it's off an hour. And I said, dude, I got a $250 fine because of that. And he was a nice guy about it, and he actually wrote me a letter and put it on the company's, the gas station's, letter mail and stuff, letterhead, and gave it to me. And I contacted the police department out there where I had to find where it was due. Contacted him. I talked to about 4 different people. I had to fax it to him. Then I had to contact the manager of the store, and they wanted his personal phone number to get a hold of him, and they called and talked. And it was in about, I don't know, it took a couple weeks, but finally they dropped the fine. I didn't have to go to court or nothing. They just dropped it. Silly things like that. To those people who say, well, you shouldn't be afraid to go into the scale. Your logbooks, should be legal. Your truck should be in good shape, all this stuff. I'm going to tell you another story. I was leased on with WL once again. It was driving my truck, Big Orange. And you see a theme there, Big Orange, Big Blue. I was going out to East Coast someplace, I don't remember where it was, and I was running 68 coming into Maryland. There's a big scale there. Coming in there early in the morning, logbooks are good, truck is good, I'm the mechanic of the truck, I know that truck, had to, bumper to bumper, I know it. Come up to that scale, pull me in. I was light, still pull me in. Came up on the scale, pull her on the back, driver, whatever. So I pull her on the back, pull up on there, and they got these big open bays where you pull up on there. It was kind of like where I got that service done. I got that PM service. Just walk bays and you drive over the top of them. Same thing. Pulled up on there, DOT officer out there waiting for me. Directed me up on there, shut it off. Then you got to go through a whole procedure, pressing the brakes, pumping the brakes, make sure all the little lights and dings and all that stuff goes on. You pump the brakes, they press on the brakes, they check the brakes and everything, and for the throw and all that stuff. Doing all this stuff, and then he goes underneath, does a whole inspection. He gets done, he goes, yeah, bring your logbooks and your paperwork inside. I'm like, whatever. So I walk inside, show him my logbook, show him my paperwork. He goes, yep, that's all good. Slides it back to me. I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting a clean bill. He goes, yeah, I got 2 violations for you. I said, what's that? He goes, 1, you got a broken clamp. I looked down and said, broken clamp? I said, well, where's the broken clamp? And he goes, on the rear axle, there is a broken clamp that holds an airline. And I sat there and I went, no. I said, it was broken. And I says, but there's a brand new clamp about 2 inches away. And he goes, yeah, I saw that clamp. And I says, so you saw there's a new one that replaced it, that's holding that hose there. And I says, I tried to replace it, and the bolt going into the pumpkin was basically tight. I was afraid it was going to break. So I went to the next bolt and wiggled on that one, and it unscrewed, so I put a clamp just right there. And he goes, well, there's still a broken clamp. I said, but the clamp isn't used. I was like, whatever. I said, what's the other problem? He goes, you got an oil leak. I said, no, I don't. I said, you're wrong. I said, I'm actually the mechanic on this truck. I own this truck. I know this truck. This truck does not have an oil leak. I can tell you that right now. And he got all snotty with me, and he goes, I could take you out there and show you. I said, you're going to have to show me. I said, because I don't have an oil leak. So we walk underneath, and as we're walking up underneath my truck, he points at it. He goes, there's your broken clamp. And I said, you can see the brand new one. I reached up there and I grabbed it, and it was just a rusty clamp. I grabbed it with my hand and I just jiggled it back and forth, 4 or 5 times, and snap, came off. I said, there, now there's no more clamp. So we walked up underneath the engine. Let me tell you what this guy did. He pulled out of his back pocket a white glove. It was a white cotton glove. I couldn't believe this. And he took his hand and he went like this across the bottom of my oil pan. And he turned and showed it to me, and there was dirt on his fingers. And he goes, see, you have an oil leak. I looked at him for a second and I said, where's the oil leak? He goes, I don't care where the oil leak is. He goes, there's oil and dirt, oil on the bottom of your engine, so there's an oil leak. And I sat there for a second. I couldn't believe it. A white glove on a semi. We were underneath my truck, and I said, look over there. You see that shiny new pipe? Goes from the radiator to the water pump? He goes, yeah. I said, last weekend I was running back to Wisconsin. I started smelling antifreeze. I pulled over, and there was a small little crack that was forming on that pipe. And antifreeze was dribbling, just every once in a while a drop would come out. And I said, I looked at it. I stopped and got some tape. I taped it. And I put some more antifreeze, made sure it was topped off, and I drove it home. I got home, I put that brand new pipe on there. The pipe cost me $600. I said, I put the pipe on there. I said, but on the way home, once in a while a drip or whatever, antifreeze will go down. It would get on the engine. All the road and grime stuff would stick to it. That's what you're getting. And he's like, whatever. So we walk in to the place. I got the broken clamp in my hand. We walk back in, and he goes, okay, well, here you go. He turns the paperwork on, and he goes, sign it. And I look down, and I says, it says I have a broken clamp. Right here's the clamp. And I says, and the other thing is, I do not have an oil leak. I explained that to you. He goes, the clamp was broken when I looked at it. And he goes, there's oil residue on there. I don't really care where it came from. And I looked at him, and I took the clamp and I set it on his desk, and I said, there's no clamp. Right there you go. And I said, I'm telling you right now, I will not sign any paperwork that says I have an oil leak. And during all this exchange, there was another DOT officer, and he came walking over. And I think the guy that I had was new, and the other guy was more experienced, and he was kind of the backup guy. He came over, and he's like, what's going on? And I looked at him, and I said, he's trying to tell me I have an oil leak. I don't have an oil leak. It was from some antifreeze that dripped on my engine. The road grime stuck to it, and the guy pulls out a white glove and scrapes it across my oil pan. And the other DOT officer turned and looked at him like, you're still doing that? I told you to stop doing that. I mean, come on, a white glove. He just looked at him like, knock it off. And I says, and then he says, I have a busted clamp. I says, but I replaced it. And I said, but I didn't pull the old clamp off. And I said, right there it is. I just snapped it off when we were out there. And as I'm explaining this other guy takes the former out, scribbles off, he's scribbling stuff, he's writing stuff, and as he turns around and goes, there. And I looked down, and it still had the clamp written. And he scribbled out oil leak, and he wrote, dirty engine. I got wrote up at a scale house for having a dirty engine. That is the most unbelievable, stupid thing I've ever heard. And I looked at the other DL2 officer, and I just looked at him. And he goes, the clamp was broke when he was inspected. He goes, really? It was. So, and I just looked at the other guy. I grabbed his pen. I signed it. I says, you know what, buddy? I'm going to sign this just for you. And I signed it and turned the form around. I was a little hostile at that point. This guy was something. And I left. There was no fine or nothing. But see, every time there's something like that, that goes against your CSA score. And they're not going to just let all the trucks go, let them go, that there's nothing wrong with them, because it makes them show that they're not doing their job. Because, like I said, I could take a brand new truck and I could find a clamp that's wiggly and loose, or something that's not tied up. You could always find something. And I came back to Wisconsin, and I was leased on with WL. So when you got one of those write-ups like that, you had to take it into the shop, and they would have to schedule your truck to come in. And they would either have to fix it or inspect it, and then they would sign off on the paperwork, and they had to mail a copy into the DOT that it was repaired. I showed up at the shop up at WL, and I walked in, and I had the sheet, and the maintenance guy saw me, and he's like, you saw the sheet? And he was like, oh, man. He goes, what do you got? I didn't even say nothing to him. I just handed it to him. He turned around and looked at it, and he looked up at me, and he goes, dirty engine? I told him, I said, the guy tried to say I had an oil leak. I don't have an oil leak. He took a white glove, scraped it across my oil pan, and he had some dirt on his fingers. And the guy looked at me. He reached in his pocket, grabbed a pen, and just signed the form. And he goes, what about the clamp? I said, I fixed the clamp before I even left there. I did it right in front of the guy. He handed it to me. He goes, that's the first time in my life I've ever heard a dirty engine. And I walked out there and I mailed the form off and everything else. Since that day, I have tried to avoid every single scale that I possibly can. Because I just don't have time to play games. You know? There's things that are wrong. I see trucks going down the road, duct tape holding fenders, and they're flapping, and I mean, junk tires and everything else. And, you know, I see all this stuff going down the road. And then they pull you in with perfectly good equipment, and they're just going to find something. I just don't get it. So I don't have time for it. So there you go. There's a little story time with Larry, since we didn't really do any video in this afternoon and evening. I hope everyone is having themselves a great day. A great night. I'm about ready to have a good one. I'm going to go to sleep. When you're watching this video. If you're not, why then get up in the morning, drink a cup of coffee, look at the sun, smile. It's going to be a better day, right? Right. So, I'll catch you guys later. See ya.